One day, everything she loved disappeared. Not slowly, not gently, all at once. One empty bed, then another, then silence where laughter used to live. Have you ever lost so much that words stopped working? Have you ever prayed and heard nothing back? What do you do when God feels quiet and your heart is screaming? That was where her story began. The famine came first. Hunger chased them out of their land. Hope pushed them forward. She left home holding the hands of her husband and her 2 sons, believing this season would pass, believing God would restore what hunger had taken. But death arrived instead. Her husband died in a foreign land. No warning, no explanation, just loss.
Then her sons grew, married, and died too. 3 graves, 1 heart still beating. She woke up every morning wondering why she was still alive. She walked through days that felt too heavy to carry. Her future was empty. Her prayers were tired. She had nothing left to lose, so she turned back toward home. Only then do we hear her name, Naomi. She returned to Bethlehem with dust on her feet and grief in her chest. The women recognized her face, but not her spirit. "Is this Naomi?" they asked. The name meant pleasant. She shook her head. "Do not call me Naomi," she said. "Call me Mara, because the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me." That was her truth. Bitter, broken, empty.
She prayed, but heaven stayed silent. Days passed. Weeks turned into months. She waited for relief, but only felt the weight of survival. Food had to be found. Life had to continue. Her daughter-in-law Ruth followed her closely, quiet, faithful, loyal. Ruth went to glean in the fields, picking leftover grain just to keep them alive. Naomi watched from a distance, wondering if this was all life would ever be now. Waiting, barely breathing, barely believing. Where was God? She remembered his promises, but memory didn't fill her hands. Silence did. One night, Naomi broke. She lay awake staring into darkness. Every thought echoed the same question. Why, God? Why bring me this far, just to leave me empty? Why take everything and leave me alive to feel it? Her faith didn't disappear. It cracked. She loved God, but she didn't understand him anymore. And still, nothing changed. Then something small happened, so small it almost went unnoticed. Ruth returned one evening with more grain than usual. Her eyes were brighter, her steps lighter. "There is a man," Ruth said, "kind, protective. His name is Boaz." Naomi paused. The name stirred something she thought was dead. Hope, barely breathing. Boaz was a kinsman redeemer, a man with the right and the power to restore what had been lost. Ruth chapter 2, verse 20. God hadn't spoken, but he was moving, quietly, patiently, precisely. The turning point didn't feel like thunder. It felt like warmth. Naomi began to see what God was weaving, not rushing, not forcing, but aligning hearts, timing, and obedience. Boaz noticed Ruth's faith, her loyalty, her love. Redemption unfolded gently, but firmly, and one day joy returned to Naomi's house. Not loudly, but fully. Ruth married Boaz. Provision replaced poverty. Security replaced fear. Then came the moment Naomi never imagined would happen again. She held a child. Her arms that once carried grief now carried life. The
The women of Bethlehem said, "Praise be to the Lord, who this day has not left you without a redeemer." They placed the baby in Naomi's arms, and the bitterness melted. The child's name was Obed. He became the grandfather of David. From his line would come a king, and from that king's line, Jesus. What Naomi thought was punishment was preparation. What she called bitterness was a bridge. God wasn't silent because he was absent. He was silent because he was working deeper than Naomi could see. The graves did not end her story. The famine did not cancel her future. The waiting did not waste her faith. God redeemed it all. If you are waiting, if heaven feels quiet, if your heart feels bitter, remember Naomi. God is still writing, still restoring, still turning loss into legacy. If this story spoke to you, take a moment to reflect. And don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share this video with someone who needs hope today.